Do you know that David Suzuki, and again, I shook his hand in Ottawa when he was invited to a talk, to do a talk by the Council of Canadians, I think it's called, and a great guy who's had a great career in the sciences of Japanese origins, his ancestry, and has dedicated so much and fought the fight. It was watching a documentary or just an interview recently, and he said he regrets not being a tougher guy during his lifetime, and he has no choice to continue to fight the fight. I can reflect with that and agree with that, and I never heard him say anything I disagree with, but I can criticize him for two things, and one of them is that he's allowed the David Suzuki foundations to get out of control and get greedy and get away from what was intended. And again, he was who he was in the past, and he is who he is now. So the monetary paradigm has confused and corrupted us all. The other thing I could criticize him about is that he's still not tough enough now, because he's either unable, he doesn't see it, or he's unwilling to have the right conversations, which again is at the root of our species' flawed thinking. He might say things like, if we could only understand or connect more with nature. And again, it's related to the ecocentric worldview I've been trying to promote. But there's also the fact that, he's not talking about also what Greta's not talking about, or pretty much most other people, is that we have to minimize our numbers as a failed species that may or may not, but very unlikely, succeed at connecting with nature properly, or learning to collaborate in ways that makes us one, like he's describing, right? We're one life form on this planet. That's our common denominator. We don't need to have a common enemy. We just need to find our common denominator, and it rests in an ecocentric worldview. But we must reduce our numbers, and we must have done that before I was born to succeed at even just mitigation ventures if we really care about our kids. And he also questions whether people really care about their kids. So in a way, he's a failure because he's not having these conversations now. And I'm a nerd, in a way, like him and others. It's kind of cool to kind of watch the astronomy stuff from James Webb, or to hear, that we crashed into a piece of asteroid and deflected it. But these are definitely not things we should be doing or spending resources on at this stage of our lack of the maturation process as a species. And again, it's a quote from a while ago that I wrote, is we have no business leaving Earth when we leave it the way we leave a movie theater after, right? Is we have no business thinking we should be out there when we still don't solve problems that require no science at all, really. It requires care and concern for each other and others, and even ourselves, definitely our kids, that we don't have. So it's always been about the lack of human programming here, which has significantly gotten worse, and there's a correlation with technology why it got worse. It's not the only correlation, but so because we're not having these conversations, and no political party that is green as ever even have the right conversations about this also. And when there's no difference between political parties, he was very good at mentioning maybe less names, but just saying the government, and not being that specific about attacking one party over the other, because they're all the same. They all don't have the right conversation, so they're all the same. So when there's really nobody to vote for, people should just say, holy crap, I'm not participating in democracy anymore. Nobody's having the right conversation. But of course, it takes an educated population for this, which, woohoo, too little too late for that. So bravo for your upcoming retirement, David Suzuki. I was proud to have shaken your hand. It was nice you said a little bit of foul language words at the beginning of this interview. But the thing is I know you say a lot more behind closed doors, but bad language is not really required when you need to have the right kind of conversations, which is we are failed up here. We have no business, even changing the kind of energy structure we use, or to go into outer space, or think of escaping, or how to defend ourselves, because humanity must survive. Humanity does not deserve to survive. When we can program this as a species in a way that is worthy to survive, let's say compared to orangutans or dolphins or many other species that are a lot more worthy to survive than us, then yeah, when we get to that point, then the next step is that. But when we can't clean our own backyards, when we can't have the right conversations, and we keep bringing more kids into the world to suffer through the collapse that is coming, no doubt, then yeah, that's the conversations we should be having. So I think you also got an Order of Canada, because there's a lot of people that did receive the Order of Canada that don't deserve it, that I would not associate myself with. But you are still one, although I'm disappointed in those two things I talked about, not the right conversations, and also the foundation in your name that got out of your control, which we've seen this in other scientific names and industries. But thank you very much, sir. And yes, you are not finished fighting the fight, and I hope that you will at some point talk about, hey, as a species, we've got more flaws than qualities. And the qualities we have, we don't apply them towards the right things because of our flaws. So until we have these conversations where, it'll lead to kind of starting to program this properly, and then, of course, this will lead us to want to have the ecocentric worldview, to want to partake in collaborations without wars being required for it, because we don't need common enemies. We need to connect to our common denominator, which is the biosphere, which is the concept of life. So either side of the abortion debate is, I'm telling you, they are not pro-life, because they're still not talking about the right thing. They might say pro-life or anti-life, but again, it's anthropocentric, and often it's even tribe versus tribe. It's not even based on your species. Most definitely not based on the concept of life, which you can't seem to grasp, that you need to grasp to survive and to deserve to survive before you can actually make progress and mature out of prepubescence as a species.